A very warm good morning to all of you. I know parts of India is very warm. I was in Delhi last week. It was 46 degrees, and me and Amit kind of moving between buildings and outside, facing a difference of 20 versus 46. Back in Pune this week, far cooler with monsoon arriving. I think things are looking far better. Very happy to see black clouds on the sky. I think that's what Pune is all about. I know we are joining from various locations in India. It's a very warm welcome from VMentor. I'll kind of quickly run you through the plan for the day. So I'll briefly introduce our organization for some of you, and then we will introduce our jury members. Post that, we will start the presentation by our interns, followed by there'll be a short break of about 10 minutes where we will break out, the jury will break out just to review the ratings, and then we will come back. During that period, our team will engage our MSME founders and the mentors, and then we will end. I'm hoping to be sharp on time. So I really need help from all the interns to kind of, stick to their timelines. They have practiced a lot, I know, but this is your day today. So very briefly on VMentor, as many of you know and you're already associated with us, we are working towards building a global mentoring organization. We are problem solvers, whether it's corporates, educational businesses, or MSMEs. What we strive is to really work around the founders, the owners, the passionate investors, and see what problems do they face. We all recognize that they have core strengths in their business, in their own capability, and that's where they have got products and services and customers, but they need help in some of the areas for a more holistic growth, what we call as supporting accelerated growth. So that's what VMentor does. Talking about the three business verticals that we have the education business vertical, where we are focusing on our MBA students and engineering students to make them employable. So the employability index of our country goes up. We get better talent in the industry. And especially for MSMEs, we are very focused that MSMEs get some good talent of management and engineering students. Our second vertical in corporates, we work with some very big names in the industry, the Reliance, the Birlas, and some of the others. And we solve some of the big problems that the corporates are facing. But more thing, that I'm passionate about is the MSME, and that's what I'm going to talk more today. I think we really feel that MSME is the heart of India's growth. If India has to grow to 5 trillion economy and more, it is MSME which has to really, put that pedal, accelerate and, kind of move on and grow multiple folds. That's what we are looking to help and achieve. We are not only looking to build the business of MSME, as we are in the consulting business to provide end-to-end consulting to our MSME founders and their teams, but we are actually in the mission to build talent, build the talent of management and engineering, build the talent and help grow the MSME talent within their own organizations. That's what we as VMentor are actually looking to do. Um, you know, uh, the USP that we offer, and that's really important. And how do we differentiate ourselves from the other consulting companies? We handhold them. We really listen to them. It's not a one-way process. It's a two-way process. We give a very patient hearing to our MSME founders, try and understand where we can connect, where we can really get a feel of their pulse. What challenges are they really facing? How can we really, through a dialogue, discussion, identify those areas and work towards helping to solve some of those problems and help ease out their challenges. I think that's what we stand for. We look at outcome and matrix driven culture. So we look at setting up goals and targets with MSME, and then make sure that we work with you, handhold you, be in the process. We have a very strong project management offering that we provide to our MSME, so that we really help you implement the strategy, not only help you develop the strategy and give you some action plan, but actually take you through to the whole process. That's what VMentor typically stands for. One thing I want to highlight is that, and this would come out today as well, that of course, as business, we are commercially minded. We want to do projects. We want to earn revenue. But our big focus as we build the MSME practice is more on investment. investing in talent. Look at the 9 people that present today, our students from 2 very well-known management institutions, the Bharati Dasan Institute of Management, Trichirappalli, and the Symbiosis Institute of Management Studies in Pune. We are there to invest. We actually spend time with our mentors every week, 2 weeks. I have spent time with them. My team has spent time with them, helping them understand and navigate their project management, the whole process of doing their research and doing the summer internship. So that's what we are here to kind of put significant effort and focus on the areas that really matter to MSMEs. In the manufacturing space, look at their product and services, help them on finance, marketing and sales, IT, digital. People is coming out to a big area within MSME, that how do we really help build that people capability both at management and at the middle management level. So that's what VMentor is all about. I'll just kind of briefly just covering that, so that there's a common understanding about the organization. Maybe I'll kind of pause and get into introducing our jury members today. So the process will be that we have got jury members, and our management interns will make presentations. Typically this will be a 5 to 6 minutes presentation, followed by about 3 to 4 minutes of Q&A, where the jury members will ask question. Our MSMEs and mentors who have joined us today, a warm welcome to them as well. They would also be open to ask questions. We will be kind of doing some kind of a rating across 5 parameters. And then we break out for 10 minutes after the presentation to just kind of collate our ratings. And then we'll come and announce the 2 best interns that we see. Of course, I know everybody has put a lot of effort, and I must put this on record that in this summer, in this heat of summer, all of these guys and gals have gone out, spent time with MSMEs. They've not been afraid of visiting plants, meeting MSMEs, spending hours with them to really do their research, look at the data, analyze, and come back with the outcomes that they're going to present today. So very thankful for the work that they have done, and I hope that they benefit from this work that they have done. Let me now briefly introduce, I don't know, Mona, can we project the concerned jury member when I'm kind of talking about them? So maybe I'll take the opportunity to first introduce Sameer Sathe. Um, Sameer is a great friend of ours. Sameer is an executive vice president with Vadhwani Foundation, Advantage India. Very brief on Vadhwani. They are on a unique mission to actually, fund and help MSMEs grow their businesses. They're actually investing as an organization, non-for-profit, helping MSMEs grow. Sameer brings about 30 plus years of experience with more than 15 years in the leadership role. He is actually a big consulting expert. He spent more than 23 years with a very well-known firm called Universal Consulting. Sameer is also as chairman and member of board of advisors of quite a few companies, Global Competitive Council, We Unlearn, and Manus Labs. Sameer is a product of Mumbai University, and he's done courses from Harvard Business School, INSEAD, and MIT. So that's our first jury member, Sameer Sathe, for all of you ladies and gentlemen. I'll just go on to introduce the second member, DK Rai. So we call him fondly as DK. DK is a director with one of the auto business companies in Pune called Chape India. He is an engineer by profession from Pantnagar and an MBA from Symbiosis. He is a senior management professional and has got a P&L responsibility. He actually brings deep industry experience and has been a great advisor to us to get us an insight into the industry. So that's DK for us. Then I don't know, with Nitin and Mayank have joined, I'll quickly introduce Meenu Bhatia, our co-founder. Meenu is a very senior HR leader with more than 16 years of deep experience in strategic HR, transformational HR, and various aspects of HR, especially performance management. She's worked in multiple geographies, including US and the Southeast Asia. She's worked in some big names of companies like the Piramal, Godrej, and others. She's also, I think, the only one in our organization. She's a certified PCC and executive coach certified by the ICF. So those are the three jury members. Do we have Nitin?
Nitin is here, Sanjeev.
Okay, great. Hey, hi Nitin, welcome to the session. So Nitin, I met him a few weeks back in Hyderabad, and I think Nitin, I'm going to take liberty to introduce you as a big Nitin of Hyderabad. Uh, people fondly call him like that. Nitin is actually I think my conversation with him was more on investment and how do you pick and choose good companies. Nitin is a very passionate investor, a private investor in quite a few companies, and he has that knack of identifying good companies for investments. That's what he's expert at. Yes, he's our investor as well. Nitin is a chartered accountant, and his key skills, as I mentioned, is to really understand the businesses. So Nitin is here to kind of help us from that perspective. Mayank, do we have Mayank on the call?
Yeah. Hi, Sanjeev. I'm here.
Hey, hi, Mayank. Good morning, and thanks for
Morning.
joining. Mayank is the founder and MD of a company called Kalamkari Lifestyle. Kalamkari runs a pastry brand. It's a fusion wear, women's fashion tech company. I've been very impressed with Mayank. I've spent quite a lot of time with him recently. Passion, he's like his passion is about design, and you can guess it right. He's actually a product of one of the most famous colleges, the NIF Delhi. Um, what kind of really struck me was Mayank started doing business at the age of 19, and the kind of stories I've heard about his experience in the US market, that's really fantastic. And he's our MSME rep on the jury. So welcome, Mayank. We look forward to your contribution.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Briefly about myself. So my name is Sanjeev Tripathi. I'm the president of VMentor, looking after the MSME business. I'm a alumni of Harvard Business School, an engineer by profession, and an MBA from Goa Institute of Management. Bring about 30 odd years of experience. Worked in the Tata Group, a couple of global banks, Credit Suisse and Royal Bank of Scotland, and also with a large US multinational. So maybe with that introduction, we've taken about 13, 14 minutes. Really, I'll straight away hand over to Mohana, and maybe we can start the presentation, Mohana.
So this is the overview of my summer internship individual research project, where I got an opportunity to visit around 13 MSMEs, founders and CEOs in person, and I have interacted with them regarding the various business operational constraints and other sort of difficulties what they are having to overcome their business successfully. And after that, my focus area was strategic business development, where I have developed a SWOT analysis based on the interaction with the various founders, general managers, supervisors of MSMEs which I have visited. And after that, I have created a strategic business development recommendations for especially for VMentor.ai to enhance the business opportunity for MSMEs. So some of the key highlights of my findings in my field visit was like the short-term and long-term concerns, where most of the MSMEs said like the cost of doing the business, managing and obtaining finance, adapting to new technologies, acquiring key new customers or expanding their markets, and some of the few things such as income volatility, recruiting, and raw material was to be their major constraint. Like for short-term means it is 1 or 2 years, and for long-term is around 5 years. So the for many most frequent response for short term was the cost of doing the business and managing the finance, and the long term concerns was recruiting and retaining the right workforce and expanding the new markets. So typically the research which I was conducted was basically for a manufacturing sector. So all the 13 MSMEs which are from manufacturing sector. So the next, like the business support and government's advisors, like how far they are able to gain knowledge. The 50% of them said to be easy for them to find the business support and advice on government schemes, and 15% of them found to be difficult, and 7% of them found to be very difficult, and 15 of them have not used any of the major schemes which the government established to for the business development of MSMEs. And the topics in which they have sought advices was like improving business activities, tax, legal regulations, sales, marketing, legal issues, R&D, and business registrations. And the mode in which they find comfortable for them to receiving support like mentoring, coaching, consulting, and one-to-one was like 60% of the MSMEs prefer online mode, and 15% prefer one-to-one business support, and 15% another 15% prefer business mentoring, and the rest prefers masterclass events, workshops. And here some of the data analysis which I have done, like the turnover of the company which I have took survey was like under 50 lakhs was around 30%, and 30%, and the next was around 23%. And one of the major thing which I have found is like from the year 2017 to 2021, the revenue of the MSMEs which I was interacting were in increasing trend. Therefore, it clearly shows that the COVID impact on manufacturing sector was not that much significant, and they were able to manage their business profitably. So this thing I want to highlight here. And also some of the operational constraint they experienced during the delivery of their products in the MSME services was like business feasibility, business plan, client assessment, and MSME sector knowledge and fund deposit, small credit sites, high overhead cost, and collateral. Here I would like to highlight, like here the fund deposit was the major problem for the MSMEs to run their business successfully. And also here few of the things which they use as a professional services was R&D, legal, advertising, manpower training, and most of the companies here what I want to highlight is like they are not using any of the professional services for their business improvement, and they find very difficult to find these kind of services, and it is very much necessary for consulting companies such as VMentor.ai to step into it and make their business grow. And another thing here, the most of the companies are not using any of the management information systems or other ERP softwares in their business. So they use manual records like create a balance sheet or etc. And very few companies use Tally to do their accounting software. And here, based on my analysis, I have created a SWOT analysis where the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats of the MSMEs organizations are identified. The major strength which I can say is like the owner's management, closeness to the market, inexpensive labor, favorable capital output ratio, and cooperation from employees. And the weakness is like lack of trained workers, technical superiority, quality consciousness, infrastructure facilities, and long-term strategic focus. The opportunities what MSME have, like there are various government schemes such as around 26 28 schemes which are very much useful for them, and the only problem here is like they should have an adequate knowledge to use the appropriate schemes for them to develop their business. And the threats is that, as I said earlier, the financial management is one of the major threat for MSMEs, where many of the banks are very much hesitant to provide loans to the MSMEs, and the other kind of negligence toward industrial training and also the increase in price inputs. And another thing what I found is like the MSMEs are not focusing on the R&D of their product. So eventually they are standing away from the competitive market, and it is very much necessary for the MSMEs to focus more on their R&D. So some of the focused activity recommendations for MSME developments are MSME trainings, where that we should conduct a periodic interaction with the MSME associations to identify the key location and clusters for getting awareness. Why I'm saying to have an interaction with an association is like, instead of having a one-to-one interaction with the MSME, if we contact an association, there will be a wider reach for the MSMEs. And the main motto of the recommendations like mentoring and coaching will reach to the MSMEs in a very much good space. And another thing, like providing information to the visiting MSMEs on the purpose, services, and support on all schemes, establish linkage with R&D Institute, Training Institute, and SIDBI and other financial institutions. So coming to the financial part, so we can provide a complete guidance and information on finance related supports and schemes and instruments. And also we can provide the MSMEs with the balance sheet analysis, so that they can have an overview of how they run their business and what are the things they can come across by giving a such thing, and preparation of detailed report on project, including venting of new technologies requirement and free for service basis in response to requests from the MSMEs. And we can also conduct a quarterly or 6 months enterprise survey and coordinate with the banks and SIDBI to collect the information on loan flow and gaps, as well as the other specialized challenges. So next, we focus on the policy inputs, where we can conduct a consultation or survey with the public, so that the proposed schemes from the various governments, can be, we can find whether that is make some relevant useful things to the MSMEs. And also if we can also give some of the recommendations and suggestions such that the policy can be amended. And then next, like provide few inputs and suggestions on policy formation in terms of sector and industries to be focused on, supports required for the export, fiscal and monetary incentives required for investment in technologies and upgradation in the respective industry sector. So coming to the cluster development, so we can establish a relationship with the cluster development association agency, as I said earlier, and MSME departments in various states to identify the new proposed clusters to be established with the necessary requirements of the existing cluster in terms of both hard and soft intervention. So we can also conduct a diagnostic analysis report to find soft intervention and to be taken forward to the respective cluster. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Prithvi. We are open for questions now. Over to the jury members. Any questions to Prithvi?
Prithvi, hi, this is Samir.
Hi, Samir.
So first of all, I want to just tell you that you are doing a good job. I think the passion that you have demonstrated is very good. I like that. Your genuinity and authenticity is very important in anything that we do. So at this young age, what you're doing is very good, and this is meant not only for you but for all the other interns. Specifically on your presentation, very quickly, in the interest of time, one main question: if the entrepreneurs of the MSMEs that you studied had only one thing to do in the next 30 to 60 days, what would you ask them to do?
So I would ask them to get in touch with the consulting companies such as VMentor.ai. Why? Because I'm saying is like, so I found that there was a lack of interest for the various MSME owners and founders for themselves to make their business, to upgrade their business. Like they are being satisfied with what they are doing right now. If they are in this state, then the company in micro can't move to the small, and company in small can't move to a large sector. So I would recommend them to immediately get in touch with consulting companies like VMentor.ai to upgrade themselves and to be in this competitive market.
Okay, so I think my question was more towards which problem statement you would want them to focus on next 30 to 60 days. Reaching out to VMentor is a means to an end, it's not an end. What would you recommend is the topmost problem statement that you would want them to act on next 30 to 60 days?
So definitely that would be the cost of doing the business. So they should focus on like what are the overhead costs they are doing now, and what are the things they can do to reduce the overhead cost and to focus more on the cost of doing the business. That would be the thing I would like to suggest to the founders.
Thanks.
So, hi Prithvi, and thank you so much for that presentation. Indeed, your energy was quite visible through this. So, an extension question to Samir's point. So, if you were to give us a suggestion to say that, this is a sweet spot for you to operate into for the next 30 to 60 days, what will your suggestion to us be? What do you think we should focus upon?
So you are asking in regard with VMentor.ai?
Yeah. So your suggestion to us as VMentor.ai.
So my suggestions would be like, I would request you to contact and keep in touch with the various associations related to the MSMEs. So there are different clusters in various regions. So I would like to go and get in contact with the association, so where they have and consolidated constraints and the difficulties of the various MSMEs, not individually, in a what to say, like in on a whole, so that the VMentor.ai can focus on that problem, and their solutions will be helpful not only for a particular MSME, and rather it will provide a great impact on MSME cluster in that region. So that would what I would like to suggest.
Okay, great, Prithvi. Thank you so much.
So the general outline, could you please navigate to the next slide, please? Yeah. So the general outline of the presentation goes as such. A brief intro into the area that I've been working on the past 2 months, the factors that I've analyzed as part of the research findings. I have to give a detailed intro into this because there are certain aspects that I've redacted from my final report as per request of the government officials, and also the sample space representation, and finally my remedial measures. So the Southern District of Madurai, as per 2021 official records, contains 59,000 odd industries, out of which almost 50% of it is officially registered under the Government of India. So Madurai is split as shown in this map as 10 different constituencies, out of which majority of the industrial estates are located in the north and northeastern part of the district. So how I proceeded to carry about my research is that I've sought out the help of a semi-governmental body called MADIPSIA, which is the Madurai District Tiny and Small Scale Industrial Associations, and also retired officials from the Indian Economic Service who guided me by giving contact names in different businesses. So the industries that I focused on are metal and machinery manufacturing and raw material manufacturing, and some retailers in the mix. So Madurai happens to be in a prime region to focus on digitization of business. And as per the representation of my sample space, 90% of them are legacy businesses, which are handed down from one generation to other generation. And even invoice preparation in these businesses happens to be in a manual method. So little to no exposure of IT tools, let alone digital technology in their businesses. So next slide, please. So based on the study that I've conducted and in congruence with the prior body of researches that are already been done with digitization of businesses, there are multiple factors that determine implementation of digital technology and as well as IT solutions in their businesses. So there are 7 different factors, out of which the top 3 are more on a theoretical stance and the bottom 4 are more on a practical approach that I found on personal interview and also questionnaire survey that I conducted with the businesses. So the top 3 are top management interest in implementing solutions, awareness, and also scope of the project, whether or not it needs an IT solution or not. The next one is an official and unofficial accounts books due to tax filing. So this is a pain point that I've addressed, and with respect to COVID, 95% of my sample space oversaw minor to acute slowdown in their businesses. So this led to a need to have cash crunch in the business, and also 9 out of the 37 respondents in my sample space are actually business owners who are in relationship with the government for procuring orders. So when a situation of uncertainty came up, there was also another issue that was creeping in. That was the percentage of black money or the corruption money that they had to pay as part of the bribe for procuring an order. So in a typical 5 crore business, 2.5 to 1 to 2.5 crore was actually spent as part of the corruption money. So when this was taken forward when this money goes from your hand, it becomes important that you have to compromise on your profit margin, and also you have to compromise on your operational efficiency to save some money for profit and also cash flow for the consequent business cycles. So this led to the practice of using pirated versions and also second secret books of accounting. Next one is the pirated versions, and next one is a subsidy cut short after 2 years. This is the ICT initiative that was launched by the Development Institute of MSME as per the Ministry of MSME, where they give training and also a platform to use, pay on usage platform for accounting softwares like Tally and also certain ERP measures. This is currently on hold, which I'll be explaining in the consequent slides. And next, the safety of data. There is a common misconception that any at all data that you store in a cloud or also in third-party website is subject to cyber malpractice. So this is another issue that is actually putting them in a position of hesitation to share their data and also move towards full digitization. Next slide, please. So this is a representation of my sample space. A vast majority of them, or almost all of them, my respondents belong in the micro and small businesses. I wanted to focus on the majority because These are the business that need prior digitization, and also these I wanted to understand what kind of difficulties they're having in digitization, because a personal point is here is that my father is one of the respondents here because he owns a business which operates in the small spectrum of the MSME diaspora. And the graph below shows the issues that are facing in the business. So I've analyzed the business and also found out their problems. So I have to find a typical IT solution that will encompass all these problems and provide a cost-effective solution. So the fuel and theft solution in the problems at the center part of the slide is that quite a few of them in my sample space are business owners in logistics business. So they had issues with the fuel and theft solution, and the analytics and PAS and financial solutions and marketing end of the business also needed a boost.
Sorry, we can't hear you, Munish.
You're not audible, Munish. Still not.
Munish, try speaking. No, we are not able to hear you.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. Go on. Munish, please wind up in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, you're audible now. You can speak.
Yeah, okay. I'll continue. I'm sorry. So these are the majority of the IT solutions that will enhance and promote their businesses, considering all these problems together. Zoho One is a collection of 140 applications, which is in its very nascent stage, and it's on a more aggressive marketing stance. They're including more and more MSME businesses into their clientele. This includes 140 applications that are useful for your businesses. Taking into consideration of my sample space, who are micro and predominantly small, I've included four applications that will serve them well. I also taken into consideration in my previous presentations about the pain points addressed by Kavya and officials in the finance end as well, Manoj and Madhusudana. So Zoho One includes Zoho Books, marketing automation, analytics, which is all covered under Zoho One, and the price of which is actually a maximum of 8,500 per user per system on a yearly basis. So this is a well-versed Indian alternative for some of the most established ERP systems, which include NetWeaver and also SAP, which costs around $2.5 to $5 million on a yearly basis for a large company. So next slide, please.
Please expedite, Munish.
Yeah. This is my final slide. Actually, one more. IT in a box solution. We are sitting in a gold mine with respect to IT in a box solution, because this is a solution that is in its very nascent stage in India. And there are literally no other IT service provider in India other than TCS who provide all these services. This is a one-stop solution for all the IT requirements. And literally, there are no provider other than TCS in India who take care of this, providing IT as an entire service to an organization. So if we could come up with including all these cloud service providers, cable providers, wireless network providers under one common domain and offer them as a service to MSME, this will become a one-stop solution for MSMEs to go about their businesses. Final slide, please. This is not just with respect to IT, this is with respect to inculcation of digital technology in their businesses. So I reached out to the help of MSME Development Institute, where they gave me an outline about how they provide services to an organization, and also financial subsidies and financial schemes to go about in each stages of establishing their business, right from training and financial subsidies, and also registration and intellectual property rights assistance, and etc. That's it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Munish. And you know that IT in a box is one of our favorite discussion points. So yeah, we'll discuss more on that. Thank you so much. Any questions to Munish? He's touched upon the most important area of IT and digital in MSME.
Sanjeev, I'd like to make a quick comment here.
Yeah, Mayank, please.
So far, I think we've listened to about 6 interns.
Yes.
I would like to make a small submission. What I've recognized out of everybody's study and projects is that business in India, to whatever industry or field it may be classified to, is not really been done as a purpose. Mostly, businesses in India are lifestyle businesses, which lead to a mindset of a promoter, founder, owner, to just bring in money to their homes, maintain a certain kind of lifestyle, and not evolve or have any purpose, which comes with clarity of the business model, the market, the competition, the competitors in that market, and of course, which leads to a bigger vision for businesses, that particular industry, and the entire economy to grow.
Right.
Where we mentor, I think there is a big playground for people like or companies like VMentor to play here, to get that clarity, put that purpose, and build that vision in place for an entrepreneur. I mean, which the government claims runs a certain amount of percentage of or contributes to the GDP of the country. If you could all just imagine, if the step taken by companies like VMentor, though it's a very challenging space to change the mindset and bring that clarity, purpose, and build that vision for these lifestyle businesses and entrepreneurs. But since you've taken a step, and I'm sure there must be more players, this is going to change the fate of the Indian business ecosystem in years to come. The evolution, could be since the mindset of business owners is about making their business profitable with the limited resources they have. Could imagine with that struggle, small mindset, if the clarity, again, I'm repeating myself for the 4th time, of the business model, market, competition, and the purpose of doing the business, which is also called the mission, and which builds up a clear vision for them, what kind of a growth Indian economy could really have in the next, let's say, a decade or so. So that's my submission. I think the bottleneck is not, of course, there are, it can be broken down to smaller and segmented into where the bottlenecks are and where the problems lies. But I think that the biggest problem is about the mindset. I mean, I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really understand. And I think, MSME founder, owner himself speaking, I think makes sense. And obviously it depends on, the kind of market that the MSME is targeting, the kind of environment it's working. So there are multiple factors at play, but obviously the vision of the MSME founder and the path that he or she decides to take, and the conviction at which he or she kind of focuses on, that's definitely a very important role that plays. So thanks so much, Mayank, for your input.
Yeah, thank you, sir. A very good afternoon to everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank VMentor for giving me this opportunity. And I consider myself very lucky to actually go and visit a plant and have an on-ground approach to actually work on something and have a change in the system that they're working with. Next slide, please. Yeah, so GMI Zorhak is a plastic molding company, and these are the range of products that are offering. There are 2 plants currently. One is in the Goa and one is in the Pune. And the Pune plant actually focuses on only on fuel and water tanks that they're manufacturing there. Next slide, please. Yeah. So these are the ones which are actually currently manufactured in the Pune plant. I have specified the companies to which, because the products are custom made, I have specified the companies and I have specified the number of products that they're selling to. For example, John Deere has 7 products that are sold there. Next slide. Yeah. So this is something that was assigned to me when we actually went on ground, and we actually worked. The first task that I had was to understand the various processes and understand the workflow of the manufacturing systems that were working there. The second was the analyzing a simple work instruction that you have present at every station and map it, stand there, analyze if there's a slight variation while working out as the worker is working, and try to understand if he has taken a shortcut while working it. So as you all understand, a change can always be positive or a change can be negative. So understanding that variation and pointing out to that specific aspect was also part of my task. Next slide. This is the John Deere production line. I will not be focusing directly on this. I will be more focusing on the solutions that I provided for them. Next slide. Yeah, so this is the John Deere movement map that I mapped out for them. This is actually a full layout of their plant, and I have identified all the movements for the production process for them. Now, this simple layout, you can easily identify that your dispatch station, because John Deere has 80% of their production, and that is the only company that they're focusing on currently right now with their 80% production going there. So now you have a specific production line for it. But as you can see, all the processes that are going on are on the first half of the plant, and your dispatch station is at the bottom of the plant. Now you have a whole 70 meters that your worker has to go around from air leakage station to the dispatch area. Now this distance amounts to 70 meters, and this is a to and fro for every time they make a product. Let's say about, if they are manufacturing around 100 products a day, now you have around 200 trips for that. So what I've suggested for them is make sure that this dispatch area actually goes on to the front of the plant near the finishing area. Now you have around only 20 meters, and this reduction in 50% of movement will actually benefit them a lot. Next slide. For each station, because my work task was associated with analyzing every station, I've actually pointed out several observations that I had at every station. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. So these are the simple changes that I pointed out for them, because these are the short-term solution for them. At the first station there, we have a molding operations that is done for them. Now, what I've observed is the worker that is working there actually has to roam around finding those screws every time he makes that round trip. So I've suggested to put a very simple weld out a simple box there and carry those screws that are needed for molding. Now you do not have a waste of time and you can save your money. Next. Yeah. As my task also included the work instructions that were missing, I've also identified several work instructions that were missing at several areas of those plants. Next slide. Yeah. As I've specified, the John Deere is not the only company that they're serving. They're serving several different products. So this is the simple map, and I've drawn out all the layouts and mapped out their movement for all the other products other than John Deere. Next. These are the work instructions that I've identified for them, that these are the stations that they need to focus on, and your work instructions need to be put there. Next slide. this is something that we were actually working on, and I suggested them to have a better inventory management as a part of my recommendations for them. This is something that I came up for them so that they can actually work on it. Now, especially when you're working on, after working for almost 1 month there, I identified that they're not actually implementing first in, first out for all their products. Now this situation actually leads to many difficulties, especially in the inventory management domain. So what I've suggested for them is try to identify all the storage areas that they currently have, because there is no naming to it. There's, all the products that they're using are simply kept at any storage area. Now, especially when you're dispatching it, you have to go around looking for it, find that product, come back, and then dispatch it. Now, this leads to a lot of time, wastage of time. So what I've done for them is, especially when you're storing it in your inventory, you choose a very simple job card, associate every product with a simple storage area. So now you know where your product has been kept. And this will actually save a lot of time for them. Next slide. Yeah, this is something that I came up because I wanted to suggest them to use a very simple process. This is the sample job card that I came up for them. Now I've also added the storage area number when you're storing it. Now it's very easy to identify where you have stored it, and it will actually simplify the whole operation of it. Next slide. Yeah, you can close it. I'll just take two more minutes. You can take it to thank you slide. Yeah, the two things that I actually observed here was, especially when you're working with a simple client, and something that I myself believe is you have to actually go on and look for very simple solutions. And the first point that we actually pointed out to Blazer, who is the managing director, was while observing all the plants, the first thing that came up was the initiative to actually make that change. When we actually pointed out to him that the usage of your raw material is actually more, especially when you're weighing your SCG black powder, they're actually using 50, 100 to 200 grams more every time when they're manufacturing your product. Now you have around, for a plant that is actually manufacturing around 6,000 products in a month, every time, and the SCG black powder is there 80% of their raw material. Now you have a lot of wastage there. While pointing it out, Blazer, we actually worked on standardizing those weighing parameters for them, and that's the change that we made there. So within the span of 2 weeks that we presented, 2 weeks before that we presented to him, we actually have a standardized weighing solution there, and we actually managed to make sure that there is no wastage of raw material there. Just to give in a perspective, in the last year itself, the additional amount that the raw material wastage was around 1200 kgs. Now that's the amount of money that we're looking on, and the amount of wastage that has happened there. That is something that we have saved there. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Particularly, Laksha, one question that comes to my mind is when you are actually solving this problem, studying this data, what is the extent with which the owners, the entrepreneurs are aware of this problem? What is the extent with which they are struggling with the interpretation, and what is the extent which they are struggling with the actions on those interpretations?
Yes. So the problem regarding the first point that you mentioned, the awareness of the problem, that was something that Blazer actually mentioned. The first thing when I entered into his office, he told me all the work, because the workforce is less. You are the ones that are observing everything there, find out everything and anything that is a simple mismatch here and there. So I'm responsible for pointing out everything that I see as a third party, and try to identify it. They are not actually going around and finding out that this is the issue there. So he wanted me to come out and tell me all the mismatch that is there. Regarding the implementation part that you mentioned, as I mentioned before, when I pointed out it to him, it was done in merely 2 minutes. I just told him that the amount of consumption for a raw material is this much, and he's using more. In the space of 2 weeks, they've already standardized those weighing machines and they've come up with solutions for it as well. So I see a lot of initiative from him to actually make sure that these changes are implemented from his side, and it will actually benefit him as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lakshya. Any other question to Lakshya?
So, Lakshya, this is you've done a time and motion study. I was wondering that 70-meter distance to 20-meter distance, when you recommended, what did they say that why was it already being done like that?
So the
Why didn't
actual
they think
issue
about it
is,
earlier?
yes, so the actual issue there was when they were actually planning the layout for it, because it's a very new plant. It was actually established just 5 years back. And there was a lot of mismatch of communication between the Goa plant and Pune plant. When the factory manager actually pointed out several points to him that we want a door there, and the architecture, the manager that was actually responsible for implementing that plant, there was a lot of miscommunication between the upper management and the management at Pune plant. So now they have a lot of issues. Most of the things that he recommended were not taken into account at that time. So that's the issue. That is the major issue that is I saw when I spoke with him.
They had no specific reason. Okay.
Thanks, Lakshya, and thanks, Vivek. I think given the time limitation, probably we'll get into a closing comments and remarks, because I want to make sure that our jury members kind of are able to give their thought process based on the time they've spent with us. And in terms of rating the interns, we will do that post this session, and we will get back to you, all of you, in terms of the announcement of the top teams, top individuals who've done a fairly good job, and then obviously we will announce that. But I think given the next 5 minutes, really, I would like to open the floor, and maybe I'll invite our jury members, maybe starting with Samir. Samir, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, in terms of what you felt about this whole exercise and your experience. And thank you so much for spending your time. 2 hours you spent with us. How do you see this whole thing kind of, adding value, especially, with our effort that we want to get into really understanding the MSMEs better?
Thanks, Sanjeev. I'll quickly wrap it up. First of all, thank you. Thanks, VMentor, you and Minu and Chandru for inviting me here. Thanks a lot. I think very quickly, first, my comment is I love the enthusiasm and the passion of all the interns. I like that. Second is I think some of the interns have presented pretty interesting depth of research. I'm pleased with that. I think the third is in terms of looking at specific actionability of these recommendations, I believe there needs to be more work that needs to be done. Because ultimately the rubber hits the road. That's where the most important things are. And I'm glad that interns are getting this opportunity because this is early in their lives. They are able to look at practical aspects in addition to the theory, which is a very, very important thing. And lastly, I think from my experience and when I look at the problem statements that interns have presented, it's interesting. There is quite an overlap, and I'm glad that at least 30-40% of the problems that came out that the SMEs face are basically transcend time. They've been there around for decades and centuries. And,
yes, that's true.
And some of the IT-related problems are obviously the IT, AI, digital transformation, etc. are some buzzwords that SMEs are learning. So I believe that there's a lot of potential that can be achieved through that and through the productization journey that we are embarking on as a foundation. So that's very quickly, and my comment in the interest of time, and all the best to all the interns. I think the good start.
Thank you so much, Samir. Nitin, over to you for your overall comment.
Okay.
What investment opportunity did you see, Nitin?
No, but one very eye-opening thing was like I think somebody pointed out a difference between a lifestyle business and a business that is hungry to grow. I think whenever you choose a career, you choose one in a business which has a lot of hunger to grow. And one thing that comes to my mind is I have quite a few Marwadi friends who, even though they have money, they always take loans to run the business. So the clock of 12% is always ticking, and that continuously gives them a hunger to grow. So that's one big thing about choosing where to work. And the second thing I wanted to talk about was there is an old way of presenting and there's a new way of presenting. Okay. So everyone has their own style, and like in today's Instagram world, you need to clickbait attention very fast. So presentations can actually be even 2 slides. So less is more sometimes. So you don't have to go by the old format of having a 10-page slide or whatever. Whatever you want to say, you can say it in 1 slide, and that's okay, because this generation and people, the way we think today is about attention, about getting that attention and giving your problem ASAP. So don't go by any format which used to be done. A lot of them have used a different format, and just be original to what comes naturally to you. So I want to just give that feedback.
Great, Nathan. Thank you. Reminded of my ex-boss who said we always used to say less is more. So, that's something that got ingrained quite early. Thank you. Meenu, over to you.
All right. So, guys, congratulations, all of you. You've done a fabulous job. And I was talking to a student yesterday who said that, I want to work for a big brand. I want to work for a company that's like visible on LinkedIn and visible on Instagram. And I'm so glad that you guys have got an opportunity, or you picked up this opportunity to work with organizations who could be the future, who are the future. You're actually helping them solve problems which are so, the ground problems, and you've actually gone there, you've understood, you've rolled up your sleeves, and you've figured out what the problem is, and you're actually being a part of their growth journey. So kudos to all of you for that. One suggestion, more from your developmental standpoint, present a story. We all love to hear stories. So present a story whenever you're presenting something to people, and empathize with. So say if Sanjeev is your stakeholder, empathize with what is it that Sanjeev really wants to learn from this particular project. What is it that he will really go out and implement like now? He should be waiting that, okay, ye suggestion leke, I just need to kind of go out and start implementing. So think from it from that perspective, am I solving a problem that Sanjeev has given me? And am I really presenting a story which, everybody is interested in, that, what problem, how can one go about, addressing that problem? And like Nitin said, make it crisp. 2 slides should be good enough, as long as your story is convincing, as long as you're bringing in all the right data points. So the good part was Sanjeev said, finish it off in 7 minutes. I think the story should have really, really helped you a lot. But going forward, please, keep this in mind whenever you're making any presentations. Keep it crisp. Thank you so much, guys. All the best.
Thank you so much, Meenu. And thanks again to all our, MSME members, plus our, mentors who have joined the session today. Obviously, it's a lot of hard work from our interns, and I'm sure they will have their own share of learning. But I think, time management, focus, even we yesterday when we spoke to our advisory board, the top of the mind thing was, Sanjeev, focus. You will have 10 things to do. The world is not going to end in just 1 year. You can do a 5-year plan, but focus on what do you really want to do. I think that's really, really important. And you could have very well seen that some of your colleagues kind of took a different path to present, while some of you took some other path to present. So I think you can very well see the difference, in terms of how they came across. Sometimes we are very keen to present a lot of things on our slides so that people can read it. Frankly, it doesn't matter, just 3 bullets per slide, and covering in 3-4 slides could actually help. But I know it's part of the learning journey. But what I'm very pleased about is the focus with which all of you really worked. I think we built a rigor of 8 weeks. You continue to kind of work as per plan, and I'm sure it's going to help you in the future. Maybe after this session we will work with you to get your reports finalized, help you in that. And also, if you get time, like Samir mentioned, I really like that. How do we continue to work on some of the specific suggestions that came out, because we want to convert them into implementable ideas, like Minu said, something that we can actually do a master class and go and tell MSMEs, these are the 5 suggestions coming from our interns, and they should be able to just go ahead and implement it. So that's where the whole, benefit and, will come in for all the hard work that you guys have put in. But thank you very much. I really want to thank all our jury members, all of my team, who spent long hours to kind of prepare for this. And of course, our MSMEs and the mentor. Thank you very much. Have a great day. And we will shortly come back to you with the results and share with the interns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks all of you for sparing the time. Thanks. Sorry,